All right, everyone, the plot thickens. Another Boeing whistleblower just died. It's very interesting. I'm going to read the title of this verbatim. Boeing whistleblower Joshua Dean, 44, who accused supplier of ignoring safety flaws in 737 MAX production, dies suddenly almost 2 months after airline's former quality control manager John Barnett took his own life. Dean had accused a Boeing supplier of ignoring warnings about defects. He was fired from his job as quality auditor at supplier Spirit Aerosystems. Spirit made the door plug, which blew out midair on Alaska Airlines flight. That was, again, a few months ago. And he died suddenly of an infection that got the best of him, wondering where he got the infection from. As recently as Monday, Dean was conscious and communicating with doctors, his mother said in a post on Facebook. At the time, a doctor told him he had a 50-50 chance of living. Josh is very depressed, frightened, and doing a lot of sleeping and not responding as much as he was a few days ago and has not been on any sedation or pain meds, so sepsis basically. In his final days, Dean was breathing through an ECMO machine. The doctor asked him if he wanted the machine turned off and he wouldn't respond. I told the doctor he doesn't know what he wants. I'm sure he wants to live. So they attempted to save his life and it just didn't work. It's very, very strange. Coincidental timing. Boeing's big in the news, and all of a sudden, the main whistleblowers that are talking about, hey, the quality of these parts is not being fully monitored properly. There's a lack of maintenance to aircraft. I've had multiple people in the aerospace industry, people in the know, people who do maintenance, people who do engineering, design, and things like that, from multiple companies, by the way, I'll mind you. Because I get that kind of tip-off, and most of the time people don't want me to mention their name. Not without good reason, by the way. Who will attest to the various problems here. It isn't just the faulty design, by the way. I've been notified by several people that are in aerospace. There's a secondary problem where maintenance of the aircraft can be an issue. So the design might be fine, but there aren't enough checks going on. The aircraft aren't being maintained properly, and so that metastasizes the issue further. So it's a multifaceted issue. But I do find it a little bit coincidental that two people linked to a major arms dealing company with deep ties and deep pockets to the U.S. government, with ties to half of Congress, all of a sudden these whistleblowers keep disappearing. They kill themselves or they die of sepsis under weird circumstances after prolonged and painful battles. Just saying that I've got questions. I don't think that they'll be answered, and I think that we probably know the answer because they're not going to be answered. That's the fucking problem. This has happened before. It's, you know, you have a whistleblower or somebody who's doing investigative journalism. You know, there are a few of them left willing to do it because of the high odds of being assassinated. And all of a sudden, they die under weird circumstances. Look at Seth Rich or Michael Hastings. Most of you probably don't remember the Hastings case. You remember he was in communication with WikiLeaks' lawyer and saying, you know, I think I'm being followed, there's something going wrong here. All of a sudden, he gets a brand new sports car out of the middle of nowhere. And he just rockets it down the road, and then the engine block ends up 150 feet or some odd away from the body, away from the body of the car when he crashes, inevitably, and dies. Then they cremate him summarily, despite the family's wishes to give him a proper burial without a full autopsy. Now, there's nothing going on there. He just happened to be investigating the FBI director at the time. But that's totally... Don't believe anything that you see or hear. It's totally bullshit that the government would kill somebody that was inconvenient. Seth Rich could not have possibly... His wallet was still intact, by the way, along with an expensive watch. But he just got mugged. You know, somebody just walked up to him, didn't like the looks of him, shot him, and walked away, basically. No closure on that case. I don't expect to get closure on these cases either. When this happens in a foreign state, like when that one dude, I can't remember his name, back in the day, that ingested polonium, and everyone knows that Vladimir Putin had him poisoned with radioactivity and killed with alpha emitters. When it happens in a foreign country, the population will say, well, that's obviously it's a wrongful death. We know that. It's obviously an assassination of a political dissident. Something like that. Sort of like with KGB-style spying. If it's alleged to happen in Belarus or in North Korea, everyone says, oh, of course. You know, we know that it's happening there. If you allege that it's happening in the United States, no, it could never happen here. We've got a constitution and shit. Yeah, Constitution, the government violates on a regular and routine basis in which people less and less even bother to care about or uphold. It's really a stumbling block to spying or to creepy crawling people's homes or something like that. It's a very strange death. Perfectly coincidental timing. Everyone's looking into Boeing, and all of a sudden one of the people making allegations against certain components in a Boeing aircraft happens to die. It's inexplicable. Now, normally 44-year-olds, they don't just randomly get sepsis and die after a prolonged battle. That's not normal. It's an unlikely death. It's plausible. Yes, of course a 44-year-old random person can get sepsis and die. They cut themselves in a rusty can, but they were too stubborn to go to the goddamn hospital, and now they're dying of tetanus or botulism or something like that. A wound botulism, by the way, not a pretty sight. Imagine you've got a wound and it's like all bubbly and crepitating, and you'll be able to feel it too. It must be crazy. It's like basically your meat is fermenting on your bone. Not a pretty sight. I've seen pictures of it, and I've always hated botulism. We should strive to eradicate it. But, of course, that would be useful and save people's lives, so nobody's going to bother. There's not enough profit motive in it. I just have questions about this particular death because of the timing, because of the Barnett death not that long ago, and because it coincides with the Boeing scandal currently going on. I just have questions. I'm not going to get answers, but I'm going to ask them anyway. Is it true that he just randomly got blood poisoning and croaked? It's possible. But there are other possibilities as well, and I think they need to be looked more into, which means that they won't be. Investigative journalism these days is a fucking joke. Nobody's going to question any part of this narrative. Nope, he just died. It's totally coincidental. The timing's coincidental. His employ is coincidental. The fact that he's a whistleblower, just ignore that. Go about your business, prol. Go back to your wage cage. That's about all. Peace out.